Welcome. Look, Stephanie can get us all gathered together even now. Except we really don't want to be here because it means she's died. And her feelings are raw. And we can't help it. That's why we have a lot of tissues around. We're going to celebrate, though, because she'd want us to. And we're going to begin thinking about her smile. Have you seen a few? Yeah. And one of the best is on this marvelous folder. Wow. She who smiles, no doubt, is glad to see us gather, and we can bless her for being with us all the years she has been and always. But first things first, I want to celebrate Larry and Diane Just for giving birth to Steph and raising her up and giving her to the world. And we celebrate Sue Fidler and her late husband Ray, who gave birth to Randy and raised him up so that the two of them could get married and live 22 terrific years together. But first things first, Larry is going to share a few thoughts of his love for Steph, and I invite him now.
Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, everybody, for coming. And Stephanie always thought of this group of people that is assembled here as her extended family, and probably all may have considered us her extended family because we were, a couple hundred miles away. But she touched a lot of lives, and her smile was very special. So I'm going to try and get through this, and I hope that some of y'all have some stories maybe that I haven't heard about, or just sit there and enjoy her smile here today as I might. But I wanted to offer one story. I was told that was going to get a chance, and I thought about having a story where I've been to a lot of these, and people tell funny stories or sad stories, but I wanted to tell you something that tells you something about Stephanie, but I'm going to find my glasses to do it. I'm going to try and get through this. And Stephanie was the reflection of her mother, both physically and mentally. As you can see from the picture, she resembles her mother, or at least I think she does, and vice versa. And her mother, who is, in turn, the reflection of her mother. And that for us is hard to miss. And not to say that any of them were incapable of a little mischief and deception from time to time, because they all played the game. But this is a little insight into the mind of the child who became the woman we all know and remember here today. She had a personality that made her capable of rationalizing and bending of the truth in a manner that kind of that molds politicians and used car salesmen. And she had a smile that allowed her to get away with it. And how did she learn this life skill? With the aforementioned role models? They all have the same smile. Her mother, her grandmother, and as you've probably seen some of these pictures, I see it come through, but I will never know where she got this little devious streak. But I love the smile and the soul behind it, and it more than I can hope to express here. So I'll just tell you this little story here. When Stephanie was about 6 years old, we pulled up stakes and moved to Jacksonville, Florida, where my sister and brother, and who are essentially my whole family, lived. There was the allure of Florida living and a new job, so we just went. We didn't think about it. The shine rubbed off of Florida after a few years, and it became life in Florida. Not much different from life in Virginia, but just life in Florida. And then Diane's father passed away back in Virginia. We lived in Woodbridge. And we decided to go back home and start again. It was a rather abrupt move, so we moved in with Diane's mom while we sought a new home of our own. And besides, living with her mom was a really good situation for us, because her mom was not living alone right after the passing of her father, and living with her mom was a really good situation because we also had reliable child care and, even more important, great eating. Both compliments, all those things, compliments of her mom. And finally, the rent was dirt cheap. But Stephanie, now about 8 or 9 years old, learned to use her charms to play the all of us. So one evening, and I believe it was a school night, I think, and Diane and I took the opportunity to actually go out and visit with friends or something. I don't remember where we went. And we told Stephanie she was to stay away from the TV and probably her grandma until she finished her homework. I'm sure everybody's been through that with the kids. I believe that she assured us that she had already completed that task, and it appeared that even a Gestapo interrogation would not break her story. So we said it was fine then, and we left as planned. We enjoyed our evening as I remember it. And upon our return, we were surprised to find that she had already gone to bed for the night, and Ma, which is what we call Diane's mom, told us that Stephanie had left us a note before going to bed and we should go and read it. And I'm paraphrasing, of course, but the note went something like this. Mom and Dad, I lied about the homework being done. I'm sorry, and I did the homework while you were out. I love you, and good night. Sorry. I don't know if we were more upset about the attempted deception, likely could have gotten away with, or pride in the fact that her angelic conscience would not allow her to rest and enjoy her night under the weight of her fib. That's the Stephanie we know, the Stephanie we love, and we're washed in pride for. I hope that's the Stephanie that you all got to know. And I thank you all for being her friend and her extended family, or her closer family, whichever you happen to be. And I think it works on both sides. Thank you so much for all being here and for being her friend and taking such good care of her for us. And we really appreciate it. You're welcome.
This isn't easy. And I'm going to ask Randy, Stephanie's husband, to come.
Let me just say up front how much I really hate public speaking, so we can get that out of the way. It is what it is. That's the comment I heard from Steph quite a bit in the last few months as she's going through cancer. Anytime a doctor would come to her and say, we want to try, we want to try a procedure, or we need to run this test, Steph would say invariably, it is what it is. Whatever you need to do, let's do that. Steph had a lot of friends here, but some of you may not have known Steph quite as long as I have or his family has. But I wanted to give you a picture of what Steph was like before we moved back to Raleigh. Steph and I met on our job at Quantico, and we were both trying to get our common access cards, and Steph wouldn't give me the time of day. She just kind of looked the other way, and I'd just have to work on her a little bit harder and try to get her to say something. And some of you may know that I try to have a sense of humor, and that came out a little bit, and she laughed, and then it was over. So the first date that Steph and I went on, I just invited her over to the house, and we watched football. And that seems kind of an unusual date for most people, to come over to somebody's house and watch football. But she liked the Redskins, and she liked that, so she did. And about 2/3 of the way through the game, we're sitting there snuggled a little bit on the couch, and she's fallen asleep. She just had that kind of soft soul. It was apparent the first time that I met her, the first time I took her out, and the first time she came over and fell asleep, and I knew, well, that's it. I mean, she's going to have to stay now. She can't wake up. So as we got to know each other and eventually got married, we were still at the job at Quantico, and we were there for 17 years. Every day we rode in the car together to Quantico, and every day we rode back. And we'd share driving duties there and from. So I kind of got the better of that because I'd just sleep on the way home, whereas she couldn't sleep going in. But I had a lot of people that asked me that said, I could never do that with my spouse. I could never spend that much time going back and forth, doing something like that. I'd want to kill him. And I just couldn't imagine anything really better. I never got tired of that. I've always enjoyed going places with her. She kind of used it as her way to trap me in the car and talk about things that maybe she wanted to talk about that I didn't, but, there we were. But it struck me. I couldn't really understand how people would say that they didn't want to spend that kind of time with their spouse. I just thought that was something that felt so natural. Weekends for us were kind of important because we spent so much time on the road going back and forth to Quantico that we didn't have a lot of time after work to do things. So we really looked forward to the weekends and going out into town and shopping and just spending that kind of time together. And again, it was really, just time that we got to spend together. And for us, that was fun. That was our good time. When we moved to Raleigh, and I need to tell a little bit of that story, I was really on the fence about moving into Raleigh. I'd lived here before, and I'd really enjoyed it and had great friends. And I knew that connection would probably be restored once we got here. But I had a good job. We both did. And so it took a little persuading for me to take that. And I asked my family, we all got together at Thanksgiving, and I asked for their input and said, which way should we go? And most of the people said, you should really take that job in Raleigh. But Steph was the one who really put us over the top. Here's Steph, who has been living around her family for so long. And I thought that she would be more reluctant than anybody to move. But when it came time for it, she was the one who said, we really need to do this. Let's do this. This is going to be good for you. Let's do it. And again, that just kind of shows the person that Steph was. She wasn't thinking about herself so much. Here she was coming into a foreign city that she didn't even know. She'd never lived in the city before. Not like that. But she was willing to do that and make that sacrifice so we could get that job and go. And we did. She got here and she kind of reinvented herself a few times with a little help from friends. She tried knitting for a while, sewing for a while. When we first met, I would cook, but as she started to get a little bit older and we moved around a little bit, she started to cook a little bit more herself. It was just interesting to see how over time she just evolved into this completely different person as we went along. When I first met her, she didn't really like to read much at all. Now, we moved down to Raleigh. She got involved with a book club. And in the last year, she was at a pace of reading a book a week. So she was trying to get 52 books in a week done, and she wasn't that far behind in getting that accomplished. She just found ways to reinvent herself. We went to Costa Rica for a couple of trips to explore if we wanted to retire there, and I think that we probably would have if everything would have shaken out. Really liked the people and the environment, but I asked her several times, "Are you sure this is something you want to do?" And she says, "Wherever you go, I'm going with you." So she wound up in a job in home care, and I think this was probably the perfect job for her. She had the responsibility of taking care of somebody who was a little bit older than her, making sure they got through the day, the morning routine, and make sure they didn't fall or have any bad experiences. And they came to love her as much as we did. We went over there in July, and here she was suffering from cancer and not feeling well. But we went over to visit the family anyhow, and while we were there, the missus, as she called her, every time the missus would make a move, like to get out of the chair or do something else, Steph would get out of her chair and rush over and try to help her out. And her daughter would have to remind her, "Steph, you're not working this anymore. It's okay. We got this." But Steph couldn't help herself. Through all of this, and COVID and what it did to us, and how we couldn't really connect with the people we wanted to and go places we wanted to, even then, Steph was trying. And when cancer was diagnosed about a year ago, she tried even harder. She buckled down. There was not one time she said, "This is it. This is enough. I don't want to do it anymore." She just persevered. She's that unique soul. You just know it when you meet them. That unique soul that just has that, she cares about everybody that she's ever met. I don't think I've ever met anybody who didn't like her immediately upon meeting her. And at the end, when the cancer was too great and the doctors still wanted to go at her with some more procedures, and she looked up and she said, "It is what it is." Well, here we are. So anyhow, she loved everybody. I just want you to know how unique she really was.
Thank you, Randy. I understand there might be one or two others who would like to either bring a poem or share something with us. Anyone want to rise? Okay. Thank you.
Give me a moment. So, yeah, I just got to compose myself here. We're like the really, really good friends. These guys. But I didn't come up here to cry. I came up here to tell you some other things about Steffi. And you've heard a lot of talk about her beautiful smile and how much she smiled. But I've been the recipient of a lot of what I would call evil grins. So we would have these game nights. We still do, and we hope they continue. And Steffi is a quiet person, as anybody who knows her would know. But she had this way when things were going in her favor and she was about to win at whatever we were playing. And Randy, to his credit, knew her best. And he would see it right away, and he would just say, "Oh no," right? Just, And you'd look, and there it was. And it doesn't show up in any of these photos, but she had this grin, right? For me, when we were playing something, when I first got to know Steffi and we started playing games and stuff, I made a promise. I was going to treat her, even though she was quiet, a shy individual, I was going to treat her like everybody else. And for me, I'm going for the kill, right? I'm going to win if I can. And if it involved doing something to Stephanie in a game or something like that, it didn't take very long before we were sort of reconnected here in Raleigh. Where she, I guess I'd say she was quite comfortable, the little grin would come out, the evil grin, and she would flip me the bird. And I miss that. I do have to say also, Randy did say they would drive and he, why would any spouse not want to spend time with their spouse? If you've ever been around Randy when he's been telling his puns, even when you said that there, I thought, no, I can think of a couple times she probably didn't want to be driving with Randy. And there were times at the table, and he would come out with these horrible puns. Oh, my goodness. And she would just roll her eyes and take another sip of wine. And she would and my wife, Donna, they would drink wine. And at some point, Steffi would say, I can no longer feel my lips. And we knew she was having a good night, So, in any case, I wanted you to know, there's sometimes the quiet people, you don't realize how complex they are, right? And there was a lot to Stephanie. I miss my friend. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Is there anyone else that don't want to? Yes, okay.
Hi, everyone. I just wrote this poem in the car when I first got here. My name is Marseille. Stephanie was my friend, and she was also a book club member. And this is from all of us. Can everyone hear me okay? Okay. Friends are those who ask you how you are and wait to hear you answer. Friends are those who know your songs in your heart and sing them when your memory fails. Friends are those who cry for you when you will not cry for yourself. Friends are those who speak up for you and laugh for you when you cannot. Friends are those who love your family and embrace them like your own. Friends are those who know you're sad and smile for you to help you become glad. Friends are those that give you insight to an open, good read. Friends are open to a good read and among people and places of all races. Friends are those who will sit with you in the garden and sip with you while you read. Friends are those who will support your journey to yourself. Friends are those who will prepare meals when there's a need. Friends are those who share your wondrous words in an open book. Friends are those who pray the rosary and sing prayerful hymns. Friends are those who will continuously sit with you when you sleep. Friends are those who will forever echo your memory within our reed between the wine and with our forever ending sips. Friends are those who will miss you when you're gone. Thank you.
I can tell there are a lot of friends here, can't you? Stephanie's mother-in-law, Sue, leads with her heart in music. And she's going to play for us Appalachian Spring. We've celebrated already, but there's more. I was thinking how it is that in the poem we heard, you mentioned words, a love of words. And I was going to ask you all to take just a moment now, think and feel, and see if there might be a word, just one word, that kind of captures Steph for you. A word that shines. A word that brings her smile to your face. And if there's such a word, would you call it out? Joy. Oh, joy. Kind. Thoughtful. Gracious. And I heard another. Hopeful. Special. Humble? Humble. Courageous. Yes. Happiness. Gentle spirit. Wow. Did you hear all those? No wonder you're her friends and loving family. No wonder she's such a person who can gather folks together and let us know once again what it is to have such a person in our lives. I was thinking about a word myself for her. And you know what? The word that comes to my mind is capable. A person who could carry on relationships with animals as complicated as cats. Now you know. A person who could troubleshoot a computer's problem remotely with confidence because she could fix it. That's capable. A person, as we heard, who found a calling helping elderly folks be able to stay in their homes. That just fits Stephanie like a glove. Capable. And all the words that you have lifted up, and the probably 20 more. This is a celebration, a necessary celebration today, because, you know, when we get busy, it's easy to forget to celebrate. It's a necessary celebration because we're together to remember someone wonderful and make a few new memories to carry with us. Have you ever looked back and wished you'd just paid attention and a moment slipped by? I'm thinking of a day to remember, just the way this one is. I'm thinking of a day, and it was a few days before Steph died. Some family and friends, we were gathered in her hospital room, and some people took turns being near her so that others could pull back and give her a little space. Nobody wanted to overwhelm her. She was having some trouble breathing that day. But Steph was paying attention. She was noticing each person in the room. Diane, you and Sue were holding a hand on either side of the bed. And she looked around. Her eyes were really big. And she said, "I love you." And she made sure to tell the people with her that she loved them. You know, that's pretty remarkable when you're barely breathing and getting close to last hours. I think as distracting as it was for her, even in her discomfort, she wanted to make a mark and leave a memory, and that memory had to be love. Had to be. First things first. Love is always first, isn't it? You've thought about some words today. They're perfect words, and they say Steph to you. And all you have to do is see that smile. And then the things that stand out, spotlight what we need to remember. Memories of love that Steph wants to give us as gifts right now and to keep. And no one can steal them from you. A life lived in love is the best gift ever. It's true. A life lived in love is the best gift ever. And we also remember that love is stronger than death. Let me say that twice. Love is stronger than death. Haven't you loved someone who's died and you still love them? It's stronger than death. There's a prayer that many people say was written by a man who loved all of creation. His name was St. Francis of Assisi. And even if he didn't write it, he sure could have. It sounds like him. It's a prayer that lifts us up with first things first. Words we all want and need, words that stand for the things we long for. It's in your folder here. They kindly printed it for us. Some of those words just pop, like peace and pardon. Peace and pardon are words, that can break a cycle of violence even. Peace and pardon can heal the hurt and the harm that we face in life and death. And then there were some more words. Hope. You said hopeful. That was in her nature, in her DNA. And light. Hope and light help us see in the dark. And if you're feeling dark right now, they're both perfect words. Hope and light. They're words that expect a future. Words that can build a bridge across troubled waters. They let us wake up in the morning and begin again. Of all the wonderful words, Stephanie lived those words that you spoke and more. She lived her life loving, and she died loving each of you. She never stopped. I'm praying that there will always be love. And as we pray this prayer of St. Francis, may love be in your heart. Pray it with me. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. And where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive. It is in pardoning that we are pardoned. And it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. Amen. I want you to know two things that are going to happen. After the benediction, I'm going to ask that you folks who would like to greet the family who are sitting here on the front row would come forward and give them your best wishes. You can come and see these photos up a little closer if you like. They're not going to gather in another room. They're going to stay right here. I bet you want to speak to them. So as soon as the benediction is complete, please do come forward. And now, Lord, in love, bless these people. Bring them peace and pardon for any hurt or harm they feel. Bring them hope and light that they may know tomorrow. Bring us through our sorrow and lead us for the rest of our lives. Through Jesus our Lord. Amen. Anyone like to come forward?